now listening to the Lineman Lounge,
where sleeves are optional.
Aren't you tired of the same old podcast? Aren't you tired of the same old things? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit? Listen up, cause I'm about to blow your brain. Let your seat kick back, let your feet relax. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. In the car, at your crib, anywhere that you want. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. Got the NFL, got MLB, got NBA, and some UFC. Got college sports, we talking fantasy. Come on over, take a listen to the boy Mike C. Only on
the Lineman Lounge.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Lineman Lounge coming to you from Hangar 6. I am Mike Carlisle. This is Evo, and we have got a jam-packed fucking show today. A lot of news still coming out. We might get some live updates while kind of this is going on. But we got a ton of football information coming out. Today is cutdown day, and yeah, it's a jam-packed show, man. How you doing?
Good, tired.
Yep.
Yeah, I woke up late for this, so that was fun. But I'm excited. We got a lot of stuff to go on the show today.
Yes, we do.
And well, you said things are still happening. I'm sitting here watching ESPN. It's roster cutdown day in the NFL, which means a lot of movement of players being released off of teams.
Right.
Trying to make the practice squad. Teams that are having injury issues and whatnot are finding replacements who are being dropped, guys who are, better options than who they decided to have in their 53. They're pulling them on. Also, priority guys are getting traded here left and right, that sort of stuff. So it's pretty wild day. It's something that we can't really completely track and put out to you today.
Yeah, we cannot get all of
the
it
dust
today.
settles. This is definitely something that we're going to go over Friday. We'll hit some of the kind of benchmarks today during the show of certain things that have happened in the NFL, of course. And if anything big happens while we're doing the show, yeah, we'll hit you up with that information.
Yep.
But it's just way too much for us to be able to go over in one show today, along with everything else that we're looking to talk about. How was your weekend, Mike? Football games?
It was good, man. So the 9U Grey Colts went out and beat the absolute dog shit out of a team we were playing this weekend. 21-0 in the first quarter. Opposing team asked for a running clock for the rest of the game. They were ready to get the hell out of there after that first quarter. Ended up winning 28-0. Could have won by a lot more, but it was nice. We gave every kid that showed up to the game, so all 20 kids, including our linemen, had an opportunity to run the ball. It was not something they're going to typically get to do, so that was kind of cool and fun for the kids. Chaos for us coaches trying to figure out alignments. Who the hell is going to line up where? Well, I had a center and a guard in the backfield. But it was good, man. It was a really good weekend. We may or may not have a game this weekend. This league has kind of been shit with getting a schedule out. So we might have a bye. We might have a game. Very much similar to what the hell happened to us last week.
Yeah, maybe not the place or time to do it, but I guess I don't really care. So I'm not super invested in the league. Because this is my first year doing it,
right?
And it's just been absolute fucking shambles since the moment that I kind of joined in.
Yeah.
And I don't know who is in charge of all that. I've got some ideas, but schedule issues. We have no rule book,
right?
Yet.
So we have our rule book, but you.
Right. And that's the thing is that, so we're operating right now off an amalgam of rule books. So there's previous year rule books, which we've been told are not the rule book. There's like the NFL Flag Football League rule book. And then there's like a National Flag Football League, type rule book. So we're operating off of nothing. We're just doing the best we can. And so far it's worked out. So we had our first flag game on Saturday. And won that game, which was pretty awesome. It just, the kids are not used to the games yet.
Right.
So we're only getting so much done in practice each day. So for them to actually go up against another team, it was one of those things where it's like it takes a little while for the gears to start turning and seeing like, oh, we're actually playing a game right now, that we're not just screwing around on a field.
Right.
And then for things to kind of fall in place. But, yeah, we ended up winning our first game,
Getting that
doing
big dub.
pretty well. So I think that was a good positive for the kids. And now we can kind of make that more impactful. Like, hey, this is why we practice. This is why we are telling you guys to do the things that you should be doing. Because when you do it in the game, then you break up a play on defense, or you provide a crucial block. And now we have a touchdown on offense. And when we're all cheering for you, that's one of those awesome feelings.
Right.
You know, we all remember growing up when you do something and you get people yelling your name, like you just did something awesome. You're like, that you want to hunt that feeling, and hopefully those kids felt that, and now they're trying to hunt that feeling and work hard. So that'll be pretty cool.
That praise is obviously any person. It's not just kids. People love that praise, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when you do something awesome, you want that praise, and I'm happy for you guys got that first win. But yeah, the league. And I don't blame our area. So we used to run the league that we were in. This year we have transitioned from, being the main body of a league, and now we are up in a Tucson league. So we are the small fish now in a bigger pond, and whoever is running it up there needs to pull their fucking head out of their ass and figure out what the hell we're doing with these games.
Yeah.
Because we don't have schedules. Like, we're doing it week to week. That doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. Like, we have known for quite some time that who's going to be in this league. Put out a fucking schedule. Like, figure it the fuck out. Mm-hmm. We're not worried about COVID. We're not doing these COVID restrictions. We're going to Tucson. We're not wearing masks. There are no teams that have canceled because of COVID. So come the fuck on, guys.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. We'll see what happens. This week might be a little bit interesting, both for practices. I got to practice tonight. And games. As everyone probably knows, if you pay attention to the news at all, there are all sorts of like hurricanes and tropical storms just fucking up our southern border right now.
Yes.
So we have, I guess it's tropical depression coming through, and we're just kind of constantly having rain, clouds, lightning, that sort of stuff going on. And it's already looking real dark and gloomy out right now, and expected to kind of be that way through the entirety of the evening. So football is a game where you play in those elements, except for lightning.
Except for lightning.
Because, lightning's obviously pretty dangerous. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm always for not having practice, because I always dread going to practice.
Right.
And then afterwards I feel fine. Afterwards I'm like, cool, that was a good practice and everything. But it's always the thought of just the wrangling in the cats at practice when they don't want to pay attention. You get the kids there that are like, I don't want to practice. And what do I say? I can't be like, well, you're practicing. I mean, I do say that,
yeah.
but I don't want to practice. I'll play in the game, but I don't want to practice, because it doesn't click to them yet. Well, you're not going to play in the game
if you don't
practice. Though they're also on a count where they have to play if they're in the league. They have to play in the game.
Yeah, play counts are very much a real thing. And sometimes it sucks because this fucking mic is pissing me off. There are times where kids will not want to play, will not show up prepared to play. A lot of different things can happen, but you still have to find a way to play them. Like for us, everybody has to play at least 8 plays. Now, typically we don't have a problem with that. But there are times where, there's a kid who is he's not there that day. Still got to find a way to get him his plays, and it's scrimmage plays. It can't just be 8 special teams plays. So the only ones that count for that are punt and punt return.
Yeah. Quick update. Apparently, some people liked me talking about how awesome my back was last time. So I went and got some chiropractic work done, in addition to those injections in the back and the drugs and stuff that I was on. I feel phenomenal now, which is awesome.
Hell yeah.
Got my back literally stretched out by some machine with a cable, just doing the decompression. Feel great, which is big for us because we have a golf tournament coming up this weekend. Common theme. We play golf pretty much every weekend, but nice long Labor Day weekend, and we're getting a whole bunch of people, 16 people together from work.
Yep.
Some people out of town are coming to play. Doing a 2-person scramble, 2 teams overall, and that's gonna be a whole lot of fun to play in that. And I was really worried that I was just gonna play further dog shit than normal because my back was messed up. But yeah, I'm excited for that. We'll have to obviously try and get some content out from playing that. I think there's going to be a lot of drinking as well, and just
that's my
overall
intent, to do a lot of drinking
rambunctiousness
as well. Especially since I don't have to go to work until Tuesday morning. I'm finally getting off of the night shift after this week, which is great because I've been struggling. So, and anybody who can see it on the YouTube or hear it possibly in my voice, I apologize. My allergies are beating the fuck out of me again. So if you see me blow my nose or whatever, I apologize. It's just the way it is. And now I got somebody in the back of our house mowing the drainage ditch back there. So it's probably gonna get worse today. But let's get into the show. That way I'm not sniffling on this mic too much.
Oh yeah, yeah. So interesting stuff that happened through sports this week. We're gonna start off with something that originally when I first saw a story, I just kind of like passed over it. ESPN showed a high school football game between IMG Academy and Bishop Sycamore High School, which they seem to not know who Bishop Sycamore High School was, along with everybody.
You never been to Bishop Sycamore High School?
No, I've never been to Ohio.
National powerhouse.
Yeah. So they claim to be from Columbus, Ohio. The school apparently might not even be real. And
it's not.
So
from everything that I've read, it's not real.
Yeah, as more has come out, this story's just gotten more and more interesting. So again, ESPN displayed this game between IMG Academy, which is a powerhouse high school for sure. It's always, like top 3 next to Mater Dei and stuff like that, as like one of these major recruiting high schools.
Mater Dei, Bishop Gorman, IMG. Like those are the top programs in the country. I mean, you can talk about some of those teams down in Texas, like KD and things like that, but IMG stacks fucking talent. Like people go down to Florida to send their kids to IMG.
Yeah. So they're showing this game on ESPN, and the ESPN commentators are like, they say they have recruits on D1 scholarship deals and stuff like that. We can't really confirm any of it. And they're saying this on the broadcast. So obviously they didn't do their homework going into it. But now that it's been a couple of days, just more and more information is coming out. So the school's not even a real thing, supposedly. They have a website, but the website's like no schedule. It's a new football program.
The website is basically bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it is essentially like a blog.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, I think, give it a little bit of credibility so you could pass it off as possibly being a high school. But
they say they play a national schedule and the 4th ranked schedule in the nation or something like that. They're ranked 4th in the nation. Max Preps is saying that they're scheduled to play several powerhouse schools, but their last season shows that they were 0-6 and were outscored 227-42. But again, all of this stuff is not even like we can't really find true information on it. Turns out their head coach has like arrest warrants out for falsifying shit.
Yeah, fraud.
The players that played in this game, not all of them are in high school. A bunch of them have already graduated high school.
Yeah, so some of those kids were JUCO players, which is fucking crazy.
It's a news story more because it's funny. How does this happen?
Like this is the South Harmon Institute of Technology.
Yes. Yes.
Like these,
very much.
They're
so.
shitheads.
Yeah.
This is fucking wild, man. How ESPN was duped this badly astonishes me. Now, ESPN, they outsource their scheduling to Paragon. I don't know what Paragon is, but I'm going to imagine that their business is going to drop down, considering that they're the ones who booked this game between IMG, who is a national powerhouse, and a non-high school football team with non-high school football players who fucking suck, and then put it on national TV, set their announcers up for complete failure because they had no idea who any of these kids are, what they were doing, if they have D1 scholarships, which I'm imagining none of them do.
Oh, yeah. You'd be able to find any information on some of these players' names in the D1 database. Look, at the end of the day, IMG won 58-0, so they're not that good, even if they're outside of high school, which just goes to show you that this team, this ragtag group from Bishop Sycamore, is a bunch of jokes. Really, I just don't get it from a lot of perspectives. Like, there's got to be some money making aspect in it for the coach or the players or that team to have attempted to do this, because it's not like they're the new Jackass group trying to make a movie about how we're duping ESPN. At least I don't think. There's got to be some money making endeavor in it for them somehow.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of.
I don't know how the
registration fee.
players going on the field who are not in high school are like not. No one has any ethical questions about any of it. Like, they're just like, yeah, I'm in high school again. Fuck it. And I get to play on national TV, so I'm just going to overlook the fact that I graduated 2 years ago. Like, I don't get any of it. And then just to get blown out like that, it's as an embarrassment. Like, the whole thing is hilarious. I don't completely understand why any of it happened, other than ESPN just did not do their homework and they got made to look like fools on national TV. It's a pretty wild situation. I'm sure more stuff is going to come out from it. That's coaches got fraud charges and all sorts of stuff on it. It's just
it's fucking
hilarious.
wild. Like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, IMG played this school that somehow got put on national TV and beat the dog shit out of them. And then this story just keeps unfolding and it gets more and more wild. I'm interested to see what kind of new charges maybe stem from this whole outcome.
Yeah.
But this coach, Roy Johnson, is probably
who
not.
they mutually decided to part ways between him and the fake school.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, who is the mutual other party that decided to part ways? This is Roy Johnson saying, I'm just going to go ahead and hide now.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is a really a bad program to begin with. These guys played it in a football game 3 days prior to this.
Yeah.
So they had 15 players playing both games. So that's dangerous as fuck. They're lying to get on national TV. This guy has fraud charges. The players who are not in high school have no fucking moral repercussion, like have no moral compass.
Mm-mm.
This shit's wild. Like, stay tuned to see what the fuck happens with Bishop Sycamore, because as soon as we get something new, we're gonna report on it, because this shit is wild. It's funny, but it's also kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's sad, but I'm gonna laugh at it
Yeah.
more than anything, just because in this day and age, it's kind of wild to see something like this happen. You could definitely get away with it, probably, 20 30 years ago, when the internet's not that big of a thing, and doing these sorts of deep delve research is not as much of a thing. But today, where you have all this information at your fingertips, to think that you can somehow pull a charade on someone.
I can access basically every piece of recorded human history with this little ass device.
Yeah.
And they couldn't figure out that Bishop Sycamore is not real.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Fucking wild, man.
So in addition to that, over the weekend we had the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley fight.
We did.
That was it was both a disappointment for me and entertaining. So I thought it was actually a very entertaining fight. It was disappointing because I wanted to see Jake Paul get knocked out, and I texted you before the fight and I said, look, my gut feeling right now is that Woodley's going to starch this guy.
Could have.
And he could have. So we get to the fourth round, and Jake Paul has been winning the rounds. And I think I've got a couple gut feelings again on it. Is that Woodley is not traditionally a boxer. Obviously, he's a UFC guy. So the rounds are different. He's not used to these 10-round matches. You have definitely different flows of how you conserve your energy and things like that. It seemed like he was conserving his energy for full 10 rounds through the whole thing, or 8 rounds, was it?
8.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was conserving his energy for the whole 8 rounds, when realistically he needed to go balls to the wall in some of these rounds, and could have, because he didn't seem like he was tired by the end of it.
No, he felt. I looked like he had a lot more left in the gas.
And he just didn't come through with it. So Paul is throwing more punches when Woodley is throwing punches and connecting with them. There's just way more power, way more damage, but he's not throwing very many of them, and it looks like he was just being reserved until we get to the 4th round, and then Woodley starts to starch him, almost knocks him out of the ring through the ropes.
Yeah.
And
which should have been fucking ruled a knockdown, by the way. According to every rule, no matter what boxing rules you're fighting under, if the ropes prevent you from going down, that's considered a knockdown. But
and he doesn't capitalize on it. It's like you have your opponent in the worst state that he could be in, and you don't become the aggressor at that point and take the match. Because when Paul got up from that, you could see, like, I was watching, like, his thighs were shaky. His head and eyes were kind of like, he was dazed, he was hurt, he was out of it. And that was your opportunity to get your knockout. He could have done it there. Yep. He could have ended the fight, and he held back. Like, there was one punch that could have been the knockout punch after kind of knocking him through the ropes there that he missed. And he did a full wind-up on it. If he had not done the full wind-up on it, like, I feel like fully winding up on that punch caused him to just miss over top of Paul's head. If he hadn't done that and just had done, like, a normal just power jab of some sort, that it would have kind of been it. It would have been tough for Paul to recover from that, or at least would have set him up just for more of those punches and ending the fight. And he didn't follow through with it. So that was the disappointing part for me, because it was like, finally I was like I was sitting there in my chair watching the fight, yelling like, yeah, here we go. And then it's just like, it's like the biggest fucking tease. And that's what fucking, I'm not one to edge. And that was, I wanted to pop, baby. It was like, it just led up to that. And so, I mean, they've both fought well. Paul looked like a boxer. Yeah. Woodley looked like, I don't know if I'd say a boxer. His, stance was a little bit weird, but he looked like he was meant to be in that fight. He just was not aggressive enough. He held back far too long. I'll say it now. I said it before. Woodley's the better fighter. Yeah. He just did not follow through in this fight. And that's why Paul ended up coming out victorious.
With the split decision.
Yeah. So
shout out to everybody on TikTok who was streaming this, because I was at work, unable to, like, literally pull up the pay-per-view. So I was watching it via several different TikTok streams as they were getting shut down. So you guys fucking rock. Thank you. Woodley could have finished him probably in the 4th, or at least put him down and make him question, am I really a fucking boxer?
Yeah, I feel like he had the opportunity to, if not have knocked him out there, to do enough damage that he would not have been able to recover and be anything what he was for the next half of the fight.
Yeah. Now, this is where I've seen already on the internet some questions calling into the validity of this fight. Woodley had him dead to fucking rights. And Woodley is a guy who knows how to finish somebody when you get them hurt.
That's true. That's like,
and
that
he
is
did
a
not
UFC
do it.
thing. Yeah, I get
is the fix in?
I get where people are coming from with that. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't see why. I think Woodley has a little too much pride.
There's too much pride for Woodley. Woodley actually took this. That's been the biggest knock on him, is that he is not seemed in to the fights that he's had in the UFC recently. And he's actually come out and said that to, like, Brendan Schaub on their Food Truck Diaries show. Brendan Schaub will talk to fighters who have an upcoming match. Brendan Schaub, former UFC fighter, big podcaster and comedian now. And he asked Woodley about it, and Woodley was like, yeah, man, I just was not into the UFC fights recently. He's like, you'd see me looking at the clock. Like, I wasn't into it. He's like, but I'm into this. I'm training. I'm taking it seriously. He's talking shit about my mom, blah, 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 which is not a good thing to do with Woodley.
No.
Woodley definitely was going to get paid for this fight. He was going to get paid a lot more if he won. And also, if Woodley won, and I don't believe it goes the other way, but if Woodley won, there's an automatic clause in their contract for a rematch.
Yep, Jake
that
Paul
would have
had
been
that
more money. So if this was a fix, if this was about money, Woodley would have won, and they would have had the rematch, because then both would have gotten paid more. That's my personal opinion on it. And I think Woodley has too much pride to just lay down and not win this fight, even if he's not traditionally a boxer. He is a combat sports guy in general. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter if this is boxing or UFC or MMA or whatever. He's like, he wanted to win. And it's such an embarrassment to not win against a YouTuber that I don't think that he was going to just roll over on this one.
Yeah, so the fix was absolutely not in. Tyron was in the fight. He had his chances. Why he didn't capitalize, I don't know. But I think it has a lot to do with Tyron's not a boxer, right? Like you could tell at times in that fight that he looked like he was a UFC guy. I mean, at one point he threw a feint and like changed levels, like he was going to do a takedown. It's like, Tyron, you just wasted all that energy to get no reaction because you can't fucking take him down.
Yeah.
Now, if he gets this rematch, if he gets the tattoo or does whatever, I think Tyron's going to beat the fuck out of him if he commits to boxing and training boxing.
Well, that's if the rematch happens, I think that Tyron's not going to give a fuck about the rounds. He went for the marathon on this one. I think it'll switch him up, and he's going to be like, okay, I know what type of punches Jake Paul can throw. I'm just going to go at him hard.
And I know
every
what
round
I can land and what he can take.
Yeah.
Because that left hook was not a devastating left hook. It just caught him on the nose, and Jake went into the fucking ropes. Mm-hmm. So I think if they get the rematch, Woodley will absolutely win that. But Jake Paul apparently now is a retired boxer.
Yeah.
According to his Twitter.
He said he's retired on his Twitter or whatever. I think that's part of I mean, with Jake Paul and the YouTube fighters, it's a show.
Yeah.
And how many times have we seen this sort of thing in sports where a guy retires, MJ retires, goes plays baseball, does something else, and then comes out of retirement, and then it's a big, spectacle. I feel like he's playing a narrative.
Yeah.
This is about fighting for him, and it's also about the spectacle. And so I feel like it's part of his spectacle, his plan, blah, 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 that I'm retired now, blah, blah, blah. I want people to be calling for me. I want them to want me to be back out there. It's a little bit narcissistic. Like people want to see me fight. So yeah, I'm going to come out of retirement.
Well, yeah, Jake Paul is a textbook narcissist.
So yeah, it's, I believe that's what he's doing with it. I don't think he's retired. We'll see if Woodley gets his tattoo and does the fight or not. I mean, I've actually got a list of guys I would like to see fight Paul.
You know who's not on that list for me? Tommy Fury.
Oh, yeah.
I have no desire to see Tommy Fury box.
So, Tommy Fury's an actual boxer.
Ish.
But he's not as good as... sad to say.
I'm going to have to pull this up.
Right now.
Tommy Fury is a professional boxer-ish. Because there are some questions about the skill this man has, even though he has technically fought professional. He's as much.
He fought in this card.
Jake Paul is as much of a professional as Tommy Fury is, because the fights that Tommy Fury has are complete and utter bullshit. So, Tommy Fury started out his career. He made his pro debut his debut against Javentus. I can't fucking pronounce it. But the guy has a record of 10-102 and 3.
Yeah.
That's not a boxer. That's a punching bag.
Mm-hmm.
His next fight fought a guy who was 0-26 and 2. Goes on, gets his third victory against a guy who was 2-26. Next guy fights who has a record of 0-12. And then he just defeated Anthony Taylor, who had his boxing debut. Tommy Fury hasn't beaten fucking anybody.
You're right. And to be fair, Tommy Fury, he's a reality show guy. He's been on Love Island or whatever, something like that. He's not, I don't want to say riding on his brother's coattails, but a little bit. Like, the name is coming from his brother.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Good looking dude. I'd fuck him. But
for how much?
Mike.
We have a correspondent, Spicy Mike, who apparently for the right 10 grand would open up his honey hole, and his boyfriend Bert Goblin, Eagles shithawk reporter, thinks that he'll take one in the mouth for $5K. We work with some interesting people, everybody. So we're very fluid on what they like in their love life.
And everybody that we work with, most of the people that we interact with are former military. So there are going to be some raunchy fucking conversations, which those will find their way interjected into the show. But yeah, he's bullshit. Tommy Fury, I think, actually gets his ass beat by Jake Paul.
Probably. I would put money on that for sure.
But yeah, I don't.
I would like to see him fight Jorge Masvidal. I would
give
like
me
to see
Jorge
him.
All day.
You got Anderson Silva, who I think is absolutely going to starch him because he just beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Yeah, he's an actual boxer who's fought like legit guys.
I would like to see Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fight Paul as well. I think that would be awesome.
That'd be a good fight.
But yeah, there's options out there. The problem is that I throw out these names. Not too many of them are real boxers. They're all old. They're not in their prime. It's like, how many times is Paul, going to fight people that are not boxers?
He could do one more fight. He can do one big money fight and then call it quits. He keeps calling out Canelo. Mm-hmm. If Canelo says, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take the payday and beat the fuck out of this guy. That would be great because Canelo will starch him inside of one round.
I don't know, man. I think if we're talking about this being some long epic saga of the Paul brothers and everything, I think the penultimate thing is them to fight each other, the Paul brothers to fight each other. That would be the biggest moneymaker, I think, for them in the long run, and that would be the cap on the end of their boxing careers. I don't know that that'll ever happen. Right. But it depends on if we're trying to do a daytime soap opera type thing, and then they can build up this whole, they start to not like each other and blah, 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 and then it becomes WWE wrestling type shit. I don't know.
Well, that Logan is definitely the babyface, and Jake is the heel in that scenario. But all right, let's get off of this because we got a shit ton of football stuff to cover, man.
Yeah, so you did some betting on the fights, correct?
I did not bet on the fight. I should have bet on the fight. I bet on college football.
Right, and you had some other bets that you wanted to go over.
I do have some other bets I want to go over. So if you guys listened to the last show, I said bet against Nebraska or bet on Illinois to cover the spread because Nebraska was not very fucking good. The spread was 7 points. It was way too high. Nebraska ends up losing that game. So not only did they not cover the fucking spread, they lost outright. Could have got paid more had I bet that. But, so if you bet with me, I made you some money. Well, I got two more bets for you guys coming up for this upcoming weekend. Pro football is still not going on, but we do have college football. And I feel pretty damn confident with these. Now, I know that I'm going to get some hate for these bets, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. So this weekend, we have the start of, big-time college football kicking off. Week one, you typically will get some out-of-conference matchups of some good teams. Well, one of those matchups is Miami versus Alabama. Okay. Alabama obviously lost a ton of talent to the NFL. They do not return very many starters. Miami is returning 91% of their production from last year. The spread of this game right now is Miami plus 18.5. Now, Miami is not going to win this game. I really like De'Aaron King, but they don't have enough firepower to keep up with Alabama, even though Alabama is replacing a ton of talent. Alabama doesn't rebuild, they reload, right? But 18.5 is too much in my opinion. So give me Miami plus 18.5. Alabama's going to win, but they're not going to win by 3 touchdowns, which is what this is going to take to cover this spread. So I think Miami keeps it within 17. You'll get paid on that. Also, I got Notre Dame and Florida State. Florida State is dog shit. They have been dog shit for a long, long time. And Notre Dame is notorious for starting out the season very hot right out the gate and then fucking sucking at the end of the year and getting their asses beat in the playoffs. This is perfect. Notre Dame -7.5. Notre Dame is going to win by at least 10 points in this game because Florida State is so bad and Notre Dame always starts out the year looking fantastic. So they get all their fans' hopes up and then completely fucking let them down. So I got Notre Dame -7.5, Miami plus 18.5, and then if you want, toss those into a little parlay, get a little extra money. But those are the bets for the week, guys.
All right, very cool. I'm sitting here watching, looking through ESPN as we're going through the cutdowns, trying to see if anything else big has happened. The big news from today is the Patriots named Mac Jones as QB1 and subsequently released Cam Newton.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Yeah, so we also talked about this a little bit before the pod. So Mac Jones has PFF's number one graded rookie quarterback, or was the number one graded rookie quarterback through the preseason. I obviously PFF does a lot of great stuff with analytics. Their stats don't always line up with what you see from the eye test necessarily.
Right.
There's definitely things to argue, but I can't fault them based on their analytics. It is pure analytics, stat-driven stuff. So they say Mac Jones had the best preseason of one of the rookie quarterbacks. I kind of feel like it's Justin Fields for me, but Mac Jones, he did good. He did very well. He was that kind of Patriots, Tom Brady era-esque type quarterback for them, which is what Belichick likes. And then on top of that, you have issues with COVID-19 and Cam being, on the reserve list and blah, blah, blah. Cam never seemed like a true fit for the Belichick style offense, even though he's a veteran. You can get a lot more out of him. My feeling is that I didn't know if they're I thought they were going to stick with Cam, but they probably went to Cam and said, hey, we're going to start Mac. Is this going to be a problem for you? He probably said, yeah, I think it'll be a problem for me. And so they went ahead and released Cam so that way he doesn't create a media issue or a locker room issue for them. It allows him to go move on with his career. There's going to be he's got to get picked up by somebody, I would think.
Houston.
That it makes sense. That makes sense. I haven't even had the time to process who would be a good fit for him, but Houston makes sense. It's just
because you're gonna have Tyrod.
Mm-hmm.
So Tyrod and Cam are going to be very similar, and the things that they can do athletically, different throwing style. Tyrod is very much a dink and dunk guy. Cam can stretch the field for you, and Deshaun Watson may or may not be leaving. We're going to get to that later in the show, I believe, right? Just a little bit, or did we add that or no?
Well, I didn't put any of that stuff in there. There's more talk with Deshaun, and we can just quick bring it up now.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Deshaun has said he's come out and said, I'm not waiving my no trade clause to go to the Eagles. Doesn't really matter because the Eagles actually made a trade. We will talk about that.
Yes.
But also there's been more reports of, Miami's a good fit for him. And then Miami's come out and said, we have no interest, or I think it was Houston came out and said, we have no interest in trading for Tua, which is interesting because that would be usually part of the return package for it. Yeah. But Houston has also said we're not going to move Deshaun unless we get what we want out of a trade, which is 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks.
Which is astronomically high. It's way too much. Even if there are no legal issues going on with Deshaun, that's still too fucking high.
That's tough for me to agree to a trade if we're talking about prime Peyton Manning and stuff like that. That's a lot. It's rough. Like you have to talk about
that is your entire organization's future.
Yeah, you have to talk about some of the best possible all-time quarterbacks to even get in that conversation, and Deshaun isn't that. He's a very, very good quarterback when he's not skeeting in masseuse hands and stuff like that. He's
not all-time.
Good,
that's what you would ask for from an all-time quarterback.
Yeah, and
even then you're going to struggle. But this is the Houston Texans trying to recoup all the fucking draft picks that Bill O'Brien pissed away doing his shit trades that never should have happened. Gets rid of the best receiver in football, doesn't get a number 1 pick. Trades multiple number 1 picks, gets a left tackle who likes fucking hitting the gas mask, which I got no problem with him hitting the gas mask. But Like,
he's worked out for him.
oh, that's also another reason why I have Alabama not covering the 18.5. You know who their fucking offensive coordinator is? Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
So, just another reason I'm hammering home Alabama not covering 18.5. But this is fucking way too much. He's not getting traded. What's going to happen is he's probably going to sit the year on the commissioner's exempt list until all of this shit gets adjudicated in court. Or whatever the fuck happens. He's either going to be arrested and sentenced or going to settle it civilly or it's all going to go away. Like, none of this actually happened.
He still will end up getting hit by the NFL on their player conduct policy. He's
Yes.
going to have a suspension of some sort.
Yes.
That's going to happen. And until that actually happens, a team cannot truly assess his trade value and try to put together an offer for him.
I wouldn't give up anything for him right now because you have no idea if he's playing.
I mean, I would give up
Seventh.
late round picks.
Yeah, I guess I'd give him a 7th. But
Flyers.
you're not getting fucking 3 1s and 2 2s for Deshaun. Not happening.
No. But yeah, so back to Mac Jones and Cam Newton. I could see Cam going to the Texans.
Yeah.
Another possibility, I guess, of a team that is having severe quarterback and injury issues is the Colts.
That actually, I did not think about that. That seems like a very fucking logical thing.
I don't know if he's a good fit, but I just know that he's a starting quarterback, which they don't have currently.
No, they don't have one.
So-
But Carson Wentz is now at this point becoming, to me, like a fringe starter. He is so often hurt. There are so many things that fucking happen around Carson Wentz. He's on the COVID list now. Sam Ehlinger is hurt, and so your starter is Jacob Eason. Who the fuck is Jacob Eason's backup?
I don't know.
I don't think they have one. So Cam to the Colts makes a fucking lot of sense.
Yeah. So the Colts woes is definitely something that we were going to talk about. So Wentz was apparently on track to potentially be back for week 1. I didn't really see it. I think they're trying to rush him back just because they have all these. They have
There's
deep
incentives
playoff run.
to play him.
They've got deep playoff run aspirations too,
Yeah.
and he's your best bet if he's healthy. But rushing him back from that foot injury is not a smart thing. Now he's on the COVID list along with their center and receiver, one of their receivers. You've got T.Y. Hilton going to miss the start of the season due to injury. Another receiver goes down. Then your backup quarterback, who is actually looking okay. He was looking like a backup quarterback as a rookie, out 5 to 6 weeks with a knee injury.
Yep.
So you have Jake Eason as your projected week 1 starter.
Missing a weapon in Zach Pascal. Missing your starting center with Kelly, I think is his name.
Yep.
No Carson Wentz. No T.Y. Hilton. So your only fucking weapon is Michael Pittman Jr. and then a Paris Campbell who has not been able to stay healthy since he's come out of Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. You got Naheem Hines out of the backfield and Taylor out of the backfield.
So they're going to have to run and play good defense.
Yeah. Which, that's the Colts are just hitting the injury bug hardcore. They've got some issues. So
they're in roster hell right now.
if you could bring in a Cam Newton, I don't know if he jives or meshes with the team at all, but he's something.
But give me Cam over Jacob Eason.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, come on. That's a fucking no-brainer. Yeah, drink, bitches. But I think they're going to try to get Carson back. Now, he's only going to have a couple days before the start of the season, depending on what happens with this COVID thing, because it could be 5 days, could be 10.
Yeah.
But he's not going to have a ton of time to practice. But like I said, there are incentives to play him. Now, I understand if he plays too many snaps, you're giving up a first-round pick, right? Mm-hmm. But right now, the Eagles are on the hook for a good portion of his contract. So if you play him and you see that Carson is not Carson Wentz of old, you see he's the new Carson Wentz who's fucking hurt and can't play, that is the quicker you find out he's not our guy. We play a Sam Ehlinger. We play a Jacob Eason. We figure out what these guys have so you actually can evaluate them. And then going in next year, we are fucking going looking for a quarterback.
Yeah. I've been more bullish on them not having a good quarterback from the beginning.
Yeah.
I've not been sold on Wentz for a long time. It's not even just the injuries. Like when he's played well, he's put up good stats and he's looked okay, but that's been so few and far between. We've seen the flash in the pan quarterbacks where
he's had a lot of help being bailed out. Alshon Jeffrey was a fucking stud.
Yeah, I've never been that high on Wentz, and if I'm the GM, wouldn't have made that trade in the first place, I suppose. But I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to look for other options, and that's why, as the GM, as I've said so many times in so many previous weeks, go out and trade for Gardner Minshew. You know what he is. He's an average, sometimes above average starter. He'll get you through the season. He's got a great mustache, and he loves apparently shooting porn.
Yeah, he's got that mustache. People recognize him as a 70s porn star.
And you can get him for cheap. And then that happens for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, so this is 2 moves by Howie Roseman that are actually good fucking moves. Getting rid of Carson Wentz, even though you have to eat some of that contract, and going out and getting a guy in Gardner Minshew, who, in my opinion, is going to start at some point this year, because I'm not sold on Jalen Hurts.
Once he learns the roster, he'll be QB1.
Yeah.
Learns the roster, learns the playbook.
This allows the Eagles to fucking cut ties with Joe Flacco, which I'm sure Bobbert Goblin is going to be very happy about. And then you get a guy who I think can eventually actually be your starter. Reminds me very much of Nick Foles, but when he goes in and starts right from the rip, probably won't shit his pants and fail like Nick Foles did.
Yeah.
He was only good off the bench.
We talked about this as well. I see him as a Fitzpatrick guy for his career. I see Gardner Minshew being that Fitzpatrick guy. He's got the moxie, the swagger. The locker room likes him. He is going to be a journeyman kind of backup fringe starter quarterback, which is perfectly fine.
You can make a fuckload of money being a fringe starter backup and have a very successful career, just like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And right now, I think that puts him above Jalen Hurts' level. Hurts has that high upside, but I don't think he's going to reach that potential from what we've seen so far. I think Minshew will end up being the QB1 there for the Eagles. They traded a conditional sixth or fifth round pick or something like that for him, which is not a whole lot for a quarterback on a rookie deal. He is a guy that I wish my Vikings would have gone out and gotten as just a solid backup for that sort of trade capital, but been pounding the table for a while. Colts, you should go out and get Minshew, get a sure thing. They didn't do it. Now he's with the Eagles. And now there's even more quarterback issues for the Colts on top of other injury issues. So should have done something like that. Oh, well, I'm not a GM. Maybe there's reasons why they couldn't make it happen. I guess you're going to see what happens today with all these roster cuts and stuff like that. You're going to have veterans being dropped. The Cowboys dropped Gilbert as he was one of their prime backups. Maybe he ends up going to the Colts. I think some Colts fans still have it in their heart that Phillip Rivers is going to stop coaching high school football and go back and be the quarterback this year. There's also Colts fans who are disillusioned, thinking that Andrew Luck is going to come out of retirement. Look, I feel bad for him. This is a real shit situation when you have such a stacked team to have these sort of injuries, and now your season is not looking very good. It's early in the year. They might lose like the first quarter to half of their season, but if they're able to stay competitive and fight back, they've got a good enough roster where they can still make the playoffs. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Very weird. Sorry, I'm checking. So since we brought up the fantasy thing, I was checking on our proposal, because that was supposed to be due today if it happened.
Also,
it doesn't look like it came through.
So. Oh, okay. Also in the NFL, over the weekend, more preseason games. The Ravens lost a centerpiece to their offense. J.K. Dobbins goes down.
Very tough.
Out for the year. Knee injury.
Sorry. Just making sure that we were not supposed to have a topical discussion on fantasy football. We're not. No. Also, fantasy implications for J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, it's very tough. He is a stud, or was going to be a stud. I still think he will be at some point. Probably shouldn't have been in the game. Gets hurt, tears his ACL and what?
I think
LCL?
they're looking at LCL as well, possibly, which is, if it happens, that sucks, but it's fine there. It's all going to get repaired. It's not going to extend his timetable for returning from this injury, but he was pretty much their running back room. They're going to run a platoon there in Baltimore between him and Gus Edwards. They've always, not always, but they've done that with Ingram and Dobbins. But now, when you're down to just Gus Edwards is a good complementary piece. He's not your RB1. So they're probably going to be looking for some other talent to bring into that backfield. It calls into question how much you should be playing your starters in these preseason games.
Mm-hmm.
I know that someone scolded the Ravens on Twitter about playing their starters, and J.K. Dobbins liked the tweet after the injury. So he probably feels the same way to an extent. There's obviously pros and cons to playing your starters in these preseason games. Like, it's good to get them reps, but you're also exposing them to the potential for these season-ending injuries. We see it every single year. Every single year it happens, and there's no telling on if, you didn't play them, if they would have their first snap in the regular season and the same thing happens. You just don't know. But it was a rough hyperextension for J.K. Dobbins that caused these tears, which really sucks. So, talking of potential suitors or players that could be picked up by the Ravens, my pick is Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, so you brought this up, and when you did, I was like, fuck, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so Le'Veon Bell, he's a little bit washed up. After leaving Pittsburgh, he hasn't done a ton. He went to the Chiefs last year and had an unceremonious exit from them, talking trash on Andy Reid. He wasn't the number one guy there.
No.
I feel like he's kind of a perfect fit for the Ravens. I don't think he plays. Before this injury, I was like, I don't see him playing in the NFL again. Honestly, just the way that he is fucked with every single team that he's been with.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing less and less return on investment from any team that brings him in. However, in this situation where you don't really have a good established running back, you're able to go pick this guy up who is a dynamic playmaker when he's at his best, and putting him out there with Lamar Jackson in that sort of an offense. And he comes in to have the opportunity to be the number one guy. I think you're able to go out there, give him a relatively minimal deal, laden with incentives, and also a lot of language saying if you fuck around and you start becoming a locker room headache nuisance, we can cut your contract at any time for these conduct issues. That it would end up being a good situation for both of them, because Le'Veon Bell's career is kind of in the trash can at this point. He needs a redemption situation. This could be his redemption situation. It allows him to go play, a bunch of these AFC teams that have done him wrong in his mind in the past, in the Steelers, in the Jets and stuff like that. I think it would be a really good situation for him. I think the Ravens could potentially get him on the cheap. And then that provides a scary dynamic if he plays up to his previous potential for the Ravens.
Yeah, so I'm very cautious about saying the things I'm about to say, because I don't want this to happen. Le'Veon Bell is a perfect fucking fit for that team. Gus Edwards is not a premier back. Le'Veon's not a premier back anymore. But a highly motivated Le'Veon Bell in an AFC North division where he gets to play the Pittsburgh Steelers twice, who he had issues with, gets to play against the Bengals. He'll get to play against the Browns again, but that's a much improved defense. It could be a really, really good fit. It gives Lamar an extra weapon who can catch the ball out of the backfield, which is something that Lamar probably needs some help with.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not just throwing it to Mark Andrews. because he can't throw it outside the fucking numbers. That I don't want to see it happen, but if the Ravens are looking for a back, that's who you go get right now, I think. I don't know if there's another guy to go get that would fit as much as Le'Veon Bell fits.
Yeah, I feel like I said, I didn't think Le'Veon was going to play in the NFL anymore with with his actions and things that he's done. And
Well, you don't talk shit to Andy Reid.
yeah,
Plain and simple. Andy Reid is probably the most respected coach in the NFL besides Bill Belichick.
yeah, he's definitely up there. But this situation bodes really well for his return to that situation. Obviously, it's cut down day. A lot of talented guys are going to be put on the waiver wire, trying to be getting added to practice squads. So the Ravens absolutely could go a different approach. They could go with their normal, we're going to get 3 or 4 guys to platoon and see where the cream rises out of that group and just run with that. You've seen other teams do it, like your Patriots, like the Rams have kind of been doing. They run these platoons, and then whoever the hot hand is, they just end up running with them. And that could work, but
Well, I mean, the Browns are doing something similar. They have, obviously, Nick Chubb is a premier back, but so is Kareem Hunt, so they have 2 guys that can do a lot of things. The Browns ended up keeping 4 running backs on their roster,
saw that, yeah.
which is an insane amount of running backs to have. But one guy's a combo wide receiver running back, also a returner on special teams. So, and he was a rookie this year. Makes sense why he made the team.
Sure.
I thought our third back was going to get cut. Didn't. So I'm glad that one of our backs isn't going to go down there because they're all very good. Yeah, they could absolutely do that. But I think adding another set of legs and a highly motivated Le'Veon Bell would be very smart for them. I just hope they don't do it. Because they're the Ravens, and fuck the Ravens.
Yeah, that could make them bringing in Le'Veon Bell, I think, scares me more of what that team could be than the Ravens with J.K. Dobbins, honestly.
No, J.K. is a stud, man. He had.
I'm not high on him.
Really?
Yeah, I think that he's
He
okay.
averaged over 5 yards per carry last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
part
now
of a
granted
part of a group.
Part of a group.
Mm-hmm.
But
He's also had injury issues, just like that whole backfield had injury issues, whether it was Ingram, Edwards, Dobbins. They all rotated through with these different injury issues last year. I've never been super high on Dobbins. I think he's a starting running back, and I think he was meant to be a focal point for that team for sure. This was going to be his year to break out, and prove me wrong on that front. But
he was going high in a lot of fantasy drafts from the stupid ass people that drafted before the end of the preseason.
Yep. But I just personally was never super high on him on being anything other than a mid-tier starting NFL running back. Whereas for me, Le'Veon, I know what Le'Veon can be. Whether or not he has that in him anymore, I truly don't know, and I'm more on the side of negativity of that we'll never see Le'Veon Bell like we did in Pittsburgh ever again.
No.
But the potential's there.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the right situation.
It's there, but he's an aging guy who's had issues in the last 2 places he's been. Did not succeed with the Jets, which was obviously most people knew that was going to be a problem. They also had Adam Gase as his head coach, so that did not fucking help. I thought that going to Kansas City would help kind of revitalize his career, and then that turned out to go the complete opposite direction because him and Andy Reid did not get along. According to Le'Veon Bell, Andy Reid didn't have anything but nice things to say because Andy Reid's a fucking professional. But, yeah, don't sign Le'Veon Bell, Baltimore, because I don't want to deal with that because I think he could have a really good year.
Yeah, that it would be interesting to see as a fan of like the entertainment of the NFL. That's where I would want to see it and see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of running down our list of stuff that we really wanted to make sure that we hit on today. It is Tuesday though, and on Tuesdays we release our start, sit, cut segment that we will discuss on Friday the results of. So we put out our polls on our social media, and we think we're going with a backup quarterback this go around. So we've already done starting quarterback. We've done starting running back. We're kind of building a roster
Yeah,
right now.
Exactly.
So even though, we did the starting quarterbacks before of who would start and who would bench, we're kind of eliminating that benched guy to an extent, and we're going with who our backup quarterback would be with this new group that we're going to pose to everybody.
Yeah, so I kind of like this idea because we talked about this last night while we were at work. Going through and actually building a roster based on who these start-sit-cut guys are.
And we're not going to do everybody because who cares? Not who cares. Obviously, I care. I would get into talking about offensive guards, but
absolutely, this is the fucking lineman lounge. I could go ahead and break down guard play for
but if
you
we
guys.
throw-
but
if
you
we-
guys are not going to listen to us talk about guard play. Probably.
yeah, if we throw out 3 guards, we're not going to have this long diatribe about Joe Thuney and have people getting over, rock solid over here talking
or
about
why Joel Pedonio might be the best guard in the NFL.
Yeah,
But-
so, we're not. That's not going to be the best content. So we're going to do definitely more position players, skill players, things like that. But it's kind of a cool idea to, we'll do these start sit cuts and we'll end up building out a roster of, some stellar guys. So people that we got this week for the backup quarterback, Case Keenum, Tyrod Taylor,
2 Cleveland guys.
and Marcus Mariota. All right, so these are all high-end backup quarterbacks, relatively high-end. I mean, it's a backup quarterback, but guys who have all started in the league. They've all had decent production in the league, and that have had some conversation, at least, about should they be the starter. I mean, Tyrod Taylor right now could be the starter down there in Houston, even though I view him as more of that backup quarterback that's an easy pinch starter. I think that's just what they're working with down there in Houston with that roster. So Case Keenum, Tyrod Taylor, and Marcus Mariota. Those are your start, sit, cut candidates for this week. We'll get that poll posted out there on the social media. Again, vote for who you like and comment. Tell us why you're picking, who you're picking, why you're not picking guys. And we'll definitely try to interact and engage with you on Friday when we get on the pod and go through who or why we agree, why we disagree, if we think you're silly and stupid, or if we actually agree with you, that sort of stuff.
I'm interested to see where the people go with this one because
Keep in mind your starting quarterback is Josh Allen based off of our
so
previous poll and
that's
pod.
going to affect my pick based on my starter being Josh Allen. I'll be interested to see if other people have that same kind of mentality or if they just go with a guy who they know. If this kind of becomes a popularity contest. But yeah, this is going to be very interesting because, like we said, we're not going to do always premier guys. Like our last one was oft injured, lower production, veteran DNs. Because as much as we would like to, we can't sign all the best guys in the league, so we're not going to break it down that way. We're going to make you guys actually think a little bit, think analytically about these football decisions. So.
Yep. And with that, unless there's anything else, any big breaking news or anything that we need to talk about, discuss?
The only other thing that came up was the Quinn Ewers deal, but I think we should probably dive into that a little bit more before we actually break down what happens with that deal.
You're just real over the top. Quinn Ewers, we've talked about him before, big-time high school quarterback prospect going to OSU. He just got another name, image, likeness deal for like $1.14 million. So the guy's doing great for himself before ever playing an NFL snap, before ever playing a college snap. Man, what a day to be alive.
And then we got some other things that I think that I'm going to have to watch the video before we talk about it, the Trent Dilfer situation with him getting into it on the sideline with a player. Us both as coaches, I kind of do want to dive into that, but I want to see what Trent's response is before we dive into that. So that'll probably be another Friday thing.
Yep.
But so I think that takes care of today's, though.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers us. There's always more information that we could talk about. Look, if we had the time, the energy, the resources, we could sit here for 3-4 hours just bullshitting about all this different stuff that happens in sports. So I know that we do miss on things. If there are topics that you want us to hit on, by all means, hit us in the mailbag.
Hit us in the
Let
mailbag.
us know. We pass over some of these things because we aren't sure if it's topics that you want to hear. We go with a lot of our gut and what we want to talk about, but we want to talk about what you guys want us to talk about. We want to hit the topics that you're passionate or interested in or just want to hear our takes. So hit us up in the mailbag. Shoot us a message on Twitter, the Facebook, anywhere. Let us know if you want us to talk about certain things. We'll make sure to get those into the shows. We're already taking some of the critiques and criticisms from people that have watched our show, just that we're getting verbal stuff from. We're starting to potentially set up future shows where we just like do a drinking episode maybe.
That'd be fun.
Mike and I just get a little
shit-housed.
Ripper Magoo over here.
Yeah, but we're gonna need Amber, my wife, to produce that episode because we will definitely lose track of what the fuck we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, but just let us know. There's a lot more that we could talk about today, but we don't want to, have this podcast run forever unless that's what you guys really want. So, yeah, hit us up. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If there's any topics that we need to, engage with, let us know. We'll make sure to make it happen.
All right. That does it for us, guys. Thank you very much for watching the show. Like you said, interact with the show on any of the social medias, also in the email. Thank you guys very much. Sleeves are always optional here at the Lineman Lounge in Hangar 6. And we thank you guys for all of your support. You ready to get the fuck out of here?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. See you.